Hey everybody, it's Pete. Good morning. Welcome to a new episode of today's Best Stock Picks. And we actually have two takeover stocks that we're going to discuss today, both which are usually pretty tradable. Lulu being the first one that we're going to discuss, and Uber is the other one. Uber seems to be trying to find ways to make money because they're not making money doing what they do best, which is really not a good sign for a company. Congratulations to everybody who is in the boot camp right now. It took advantage of both Boeing, which I did not trade yesterday, but a lot of people in the boot camp did very, very successfully yesterday, and Match.com. So awesome to everybody who capitalized on that yesterday. If you find these videos helpful, and especially if you find some winning trades that we've called out that you've taken advantage of, definitely subscribe. And absolutely, I'd love to hear about your success stories down in the comments. That would be awesome to hear that we're influencing some of your trading education and helping open your eyes up to some new opportunities. So we're going to head right over to the charts. Oh, by the way, before we do that, we talked about it yesterday morning, and we're starting to see it a little bit even yesterday, which was Monday. The volume has a chance to keep dripping lower as the week moves closer to the holiday weekend. So be very, very aware of what your normal volume is in the stocks that you trade. And if that volume starts to drop off, you're probably going to see a lot of tight trading ranges, and be very careful, especially if you're a day trader right now, because you can get really caught up in that light volume, buying a breakout, shorting a breakout, buying a breakout, and all of a sudden you look 3 hours later, the stock didn't move anywhere and you lost $1,000. Be very careful. Be very aware that you need to draw a little box around that once it starts to head sideways, and set alerts. Don't even get involved until it gets out of that range, because you will save a fortune. And I know, because I did it years ago, where I'm like, what am I doing? The stock hasn't moved and I'm down X, whatever dollar amount it was. So that's one of the first steps towards profitability, is staying away from those trades you shouldn't be in the first place. So the question we get a lot is, how do you know what the average volume is? Well, what's good volume? You need to know what the average volume is, and then you'll actually start to see it. But really, kind of an advanced tactic, which is not really advanced, it's just something most people probably never think of, is start to look at your intraday candlesticks. If you start to see a lot of what I call melted candlesticks, or what most people might know as dojis, that means that there's a lot of indecision on those time frames, and there's pretty much nothing to do. So if the market itself doesn't have something to do, you shouldn't be trading the stock. So a little tip there to keep yourself out of trouble. So Uber and Lulu. First, we're actually going to get into, we're going to discuss Lulu first. First, we'll talk about the story very quickly. Lulu's, apparently they are going to start heading in using the Nike business model, where they're looking to acquire, they have acquired, according to this article, Mirror, which, if you don't know what Mirror is, that is the company that does, you mount the mirror on your wall, and it's basically kind of like personalized one-on-one trading. We actually see the other person and you work out with them. So I thought the story was interesting, and now Lulu is actually up 4%. It's up $11 pre-market, which is super fascinating, because I actually had it as a potential change of trend, and it fell short because earnings were really not that good. They actually got hit pretty hard, and we kept closing below the open, and I actually was looking for it to crack, and it didn't, and now we know why. So interesting. Lulu will definitely be in play today, and the other one is Uber. Actually, if we go to Lulu, a lot of people want to know what the exact trade is. Obviously, it's opening much higher. It's trading much higher right now, and should open much higher as long as it's above the open price today, and obviously above yesterday's high. We're going to be fine to be looking for longs in that stock. If the stock pulls back, you have a choice then. Do you want to get involved with a stock that's trading lower right now that has a good news story? If you do, the smarter trade is to look for a lower risk entry, what we call either a well bid candlestick, or what we have in the boot camp we call a false positive. And then the better trade is when it finally gets back above what was ultimately going to be today's opening price. That's for if you're day trading. If you're swing trading, obviously the 328 level is the new level. Because it's the first move in the direction of this good story, you should see some legs. We'll see what happens. But the other one was Uber. Talk about that one very quickly. Uber obviously had bearish order flow, broke support. It's up 3% this morning, just trading over $30, which basically takes it back into the middle of that range. I'm already this morning getting a bunch of emails and messages about whether we should be trading Uber. I'm not going to. And again, kind of interesting here, completely not planned. But if you could take a look here, look at all the melted candles where there's just massive indecision in the stock. I don't trade stocks like this because there's not enough daily order flow for me to justify accepting risk because the profit potential isn't there on a consistent basis. Possibly swing trade it, but I don't see a reason to swing trade it long either. I don't think the story is worthy of my capital right now. Boeing is one that is super interesting. I keep talking about it every day. It's a phenomenal stock to trade if you actually had clear order flow. You can see we had consolidation that led to one move and then another consolidation, which traded to the downside. I'm not trading the stock right now other than as a day trade. I did not trade it yesterday. Congratulations to everybody in the boot camp who did for whatever. I just decided it wasn't one of my best trades of the day, which we actually talk about in this morning stocks for breakfast. But it was a good stock if that was in your list. It just happened to not be in my list, and you can clearly see why. And congratulations to a couple of people in the boot camp who at the end of the day were asking me around this area about a new buying opportunity and what the profit target was. And we basically discussed if the stock is still strong, hold it to the close. And you can see you got rewarded in a really, really big way just in the afternoon yesterday. And that's the value of having the ability to ask real-time questions in your trades. I'll tell it like it is. I'm going to tell you whether it's a good idea. I'm going to tell you if it is not a good idea and why. That's the most important part, is why it might not be a good idea, because you want to learn. You want to learn to be the trader. So if you're looking to trade Boeing, you can see why it's not in my list. It's actually down $5 again this morning. So it's only one day of buying. I need more than that for it to get into my list. But some other stocks, FedEx earnings after the close today. Got to keep an eye on that as well. Uber, by the way, the takeover is Postmates, is the company that is in the news there. We got a couple of strong stocks that pulled back yesterday, FSLY being the first one. Let me zoom that out a little bit. Pretty decent volume on the down move yesterday, bearish engulfing candle. I'm actually looking for it to test yesterday's low, looking for a spot to bid. Oh, by the way, we did make a call yesterday in Facebook. We were looking to be long, but we were looking for it at a much lower level. So it did not trigger the swing trade that I called out yesterday. NVAX is another one that really nice job taking advantage of as well. What I don't like about NVAX, even though right now we keep closing higher, or we have closed higher, I don't like the fact that we keep closing off the highs. So this is really a little bit more, you got to make stronger decisions in the stock because you don't want to be giving back profits. So if you get an idea of what I'm talking about, this is what you need to have an intraday criteria that says the stock has changed, and what does that mean? A lot of traders who are new to the boot camp are making good decisions, but they're getting stuck in those decisions, thinking that that decision is their final decision, when nothing could be further from the truth. You'll hear me talk about it all the time. You need to know what the trade looks like for it to still be good, like we talked about in Boeing just a second ago. And if it doesn't look good anymore, and you need to know before the decision what you're going to do. So I still like NVAX as a long. It's opening up higher this morning so far. It's just a question of where you get long. I don't like it as a new swing trade right now. I actually prefer to day trade it just because of how much it's paused. I'd like to see it pause, pull back a little bit, and then have a little bit of a rally. Nice job for those of you that followed through. We've been scanning BJ's. This was the breakout level, so a new swing trade was initiated. We are looking for the stock to punch through to the 42 level. Not really a stock that has a lot of momentum, but you know what? If it's still moving in your direction, that's the trade, right? Let's see, DKS is another one that we keep setting this alert. I keep pulling it back up to basically go over the importance of making sure that you set your alerts and you leave them there, because when this breaks out, if it gets through 42, you want to make sure that you're on top of it. We discussed Match.com. Really solid job by everybody in the boot camp yesterday who took advantage of this as well. It was one of those trades where you really didn't have to sweat it out that much. Maybe this one little pullback in the afternoon, but really strong close again. So again, if you held to the close, you don't have to really sweat out what is the target, what is the target. If the stock is still trading well, hang on to it. Billy is one that's been called out a lot. I have not traded this one yet. I keep waiting for it to get above this level. My buy stop is above 46. I need to see it get there and close there. It did not close there, but still in the list. Spotify has been a very profitable stock for us this month. You can see we're starting to see some more melted candlesticks, which starts to have a little bit less conviction in the ideas where we want to see this, we want to see this. We don't want to see these melted candles. So we're starting to see a little bit of indecision up near the highs, and we're starting to see some increased volume without advanced price action. As we saw in DraftKings last week, that's usually where the market turns, or that's usually where the stock turns. I still like it long until I see a reason not to be long, because it does keep trading higher. So for me, it's not going to be a swing trade at this point for that very reason. We do have an inside candlestick today, so I'm going to be looking for a trend day in this stock. And if it does break out to the upside, it's one of those stocks, again, that you can look to hold to the close. SE is one that we had a really good entry in last week, where we looked to trade the low of this pullback. We were looking originally for it to trade down to 100. It did not get there, but now we have 3 days of bullish trading, still looking for the long, still looking for it to retest the 116 level. DocuSign is an interesting one. We actually had really relative weakness when the market rallied yesterday. If you don't know what that means, the market was actually going up at this point, and you can see DocuSign was actually not rallying at all intraday. So probably some profit taking there. Maybe this upside mojo, just to give you a really crazy idea of how strong it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months in a row of buying. Who knows? Maybe we're seeing a little bit of distribution. Something that you absolutely do not want to see on a breakout like we had here is an inside candle. That usually leads to a move down to the other side, which would take the stock down to the 146 level. We'll see. It's still a buy from the longer term perspective. There's no reason to be selling short. Let's see if it pulls back and gives us another great opportunity to look for a spot to bid. Zoom kind of fits in that same category, but I like Zoom as a bid. So today I'm looking to bid Zoom at yesterday's low. Another interesting one that's one of my favorite setups here is TDOC. Broke out to new highs. Should have followed through. Did not follow through. Pulled back. I'm looking to bid this in the 185, 186 area. And we do have a couple of short sales today too. PLNT broke to the downside. And look, I'm not a big head and shoulders person, but you got one here. And this looks like it broke the neckline at 64, well offered now. We got an inside candlestick, 2 candlesticks to the downside. Looks like this level down here, 7 is the target. So you do have some room to the downside if the market should happen to roll over. Right now, the futures are kind of neutral. And then you have CME Group as well breaking down. And that's not quite an inside candlestick, but pretty close. And you can see we got a lot of room to the downside there as well. So we're not lacking for opportunity at all right now, whether it's a day trade or a swing trade. It's really just a question of don't buy too late into a momentum move to the upside. We saw that in SQ where we saw some profit taking, and even FSLY yesterday, where I've been pounding the table the last couple of days. It's still a great day trading stock, but a lower probability long on a new swing trade. Finally, we got a little profit taking yesterday. Hopefully, we can actually get one more day to the downside and then find a really good spot to look to bid. So be aware of your volume. You need to know your average volume, your current volume trading today. You'll see it on the charts. You'll start to see them look like a mess. Those charts look like a mess, and they can't get out of a range. Stay away. Your money will go to die in those windows. For a little bit longer term trades, market's still kind of hovering right at that lower level that we need to see it hold to feel bullish again. If it breaks down below that levels, make decisions now in your stocks before it happens. If we break down, if we find some buyers again, we have a lot of room to get back to the upside of that channel. So let's be disciplined, plenty of opportunity. Make your game plan before the market opens and stick to the game plan. Don't go finding stocks in a market that has some light volume. That's another way to be separated from your money. So if you find these videos helpful, and especially if you have some success stories, definitely share them with me down below and click to subscribe. Have a great day, everybody.